Okay, this is actually the second time I've been here, and the second time I'm doing a narration for this place, because the first time it didn't come out good. I am at the Strait of Messina, but on the Italian side, on the toe of Italy. The town is the Villa San Giovanni, which is the opposite side of the Strait of Messina from Sicily, which is the Strait of Messina. That's the town of Messina. I think I just saw on one of the barges the word Zancle. Originally, the name for the port of Messina the earliest name was Zancle. It was Phoenician. Anyway, we're going back to Sicily after having spent 3 days in Pompeii after a very long, arduous drive, an ordeal drive. Took about 10 hours. Today we got from Pompeii to the Strait of Messina, San Giovanni, in record time. It's been, 4.5 hours, which is record time. It was very smooth sailing, no traffic tie-ups, no congestion. So anyway, the port of Messina, the Strait of Messina, I should say, is one of the most famous straits in history. It is where Homer, in his Odyssey, told of the trials of Odysseus trying to sail through this strait. People were aware of the dangers of sailing through this strait for many millennia, at least 3 millennia, as long as there have been sailors on boats. In the case of Homer's Odyssey, the dangers were told in terms of a myth of 2 monsters. One was Charybdis, the other Scylla. Charybdis was on the Sicilian side, and it was a whirlpool of death. And Scylla was on the Italian side, on the toe, and that was a 9 or 7-headed dragon. And the reason for the stories is because any boat that would try to sail through this strait would find it difficult, because the currents were extremely fierce, and it would push your boat one way or the other opposite of where you were intending to go, and you'd often run aground and sink. Basically, it's a metaphor for something that we have in the English language called being between a rock and a hard place. No matter which way you go, you're going to have a tough time. But that story has been told for at least 3 millennia. And in fact, there's a town in Italy called Scylla, named for the monster. We just passed through it. Out there is the rest of the Mediterranean Sea. One more thing, this strait is also famous for being the strait that Spartacus sought to pass across with his slave army from Italy, getting it out of Italy and into Sicily. And had he been successful, there is a good chance that his slave revolt could have survived to the point where he could have set up his own kingdom in Sicily and perhaps negotiated a settlement with the Romans. But instead, he was able to cross only with a small band, where they were to meet his agent, who promised that his payment for ships to come and collect the rest of his slave army would carry them across this strait. But what he found out was that he'd been betrayed, the ships were denied, and he had to turn back and then go back to Italy, and then take his slave army back up to Italy, where he had to fight his final battles and then eventually lose. So history could have been a bit different had those ships that were promised been delivered. So we are crossing the Strait of Messina, and what you're looking at right now is, I'm going to zoom in, is the port of Messina on the other side, somewhere over there, I think, where you see the smoke. That's a smokestack on the ferry, which unfortunately we are breathing because of where I'm standing. I'm trying to keep this steady, but it's very hard. It's not as windy today as it was on Saturday. So my hat's not going to blow off.
Well, I'm holding my glasses.
Yeah,
just
good
in
idea.
Case.
Oh, I know. That's what I just said. I'm commenting on that.
Phew.
Did the other side have?
No. It's just...
Oh, okay.
No, it's even worse. Let's go in the middle.
Okay. All right, that's where we just came from. That is Italy. And the Villa San Giovanni, which is where the other side of the embarco service is. Today's ferry is 10 times better than what it was on Saturday. On Saturday there was a long line. On Saturday I also had trouble finding the right exit to take. And today there's far less people, and today is a Tuesday. So this is one of the most famous straits in the world. They talked about building a bridge across this strait. They've talked about it for several decades, if not even half a century. And the plans were drawn up to build this bridge, and if they do, it has to be built in a certain way to withstand any seismic activity, so the bridge can be flexible. They also talked about building a channel, but I think they decided against it because of the seismic activity in this region, because this is where Etna is, and there are earthquakes and volcanoes. So I hope this one comes out, because I did this on the way over from Sicily and it just did not come out. So we are on our way to Taormina, which will be our second to last evening on this trip. We're going to be spending one evening in a hotel in Taormina, and then from there in the morning we drive back to Palermo, where we'll have one more night stay at the Casa Nostra boutique hotel. Then we have to get up extremely early in the morning to check out and drive to the airport, where we fly back. And thankfully we were able to get our return COVID tests yesterday. We were able to get tested at 5:30 p.m. and we're able to get our results at about, what was it, 7:30?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. And you know,
See Mount Etna from here?
no, you can't. But you can see how the water is still blue, no matter where you look. grab the camera and get me over here. Even the foam looks like it's blue. You know, I mean, it's amazing. When you look into the water, even into the dark part of the water, it's blue. I don't know. It's almost like it's been prepared. You know, like you prepare your pool or your bath water to be a certain color. I mean, it's this beautiful turquoise. It's as if God has put pellets in the sea, and He's made the water be the most blue I've ever seen it.
Even the water in the Atlantic Ocean is like a dark green.
Yeah, this is incredible. I don't
Nowhere
know.
near as blue as
It
this.
must be maybe the salt content, you know. You look at it, I don't even see any fish. Every once in a while you see a few birds, but careful with the camera.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So we now say addio to Italy, where we spent the last 3 days. Driving down the autostrada. I don't know how many miles it is, but it's quite a long drive. I really would prefer not to do that again. And I also like the landscape, the views that I had of Sicily driving on its roads, even though some of the roads are pretty treacherous and difficult. But the views are, I just think, much better than what we had on the Italy trip.